Take a breath. Welcome to Space to Exhale, the podcast, weekly inspiration for self-care and soft living. I am your host, Lisa Hurley. I'm a 5-time Anthem Award winner, second-generation Reiki master and community builder, and I'm the author of the book, Space to Exhale. Through healing modalities like breathwork, affirmations, and meditations, I'll guide you on a life-changing journey to help you know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, and create much-needed space to exhale. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Space to Exhale, the podcast. It's a safe, serene sanctuary where we explore rest, well-being, self-care, and what it means to create a life filled with less overwhelm and more ease. As you know, I'm your host, Lisa Hurley, the award-winning author of Space to Exhale, and I'm here to remind us all to slow down, take a breath, say no to hustle culture, and yes to a life of ease. And my hope and dream is that together we can all curate lives we don't feel we need to take a break from. And now let's make some space to exhale. Today, I'll be joined by my very special guest. Those of you who are joining us live can see her on screen, my friend, Mita Mallick. Mita, welcome.
Oh my God. Thank you, Lisa. I said I was waiting for this invite. I've attended so many of your live events and listened to the podcast, and I'm just honored to be here, friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And let me just let all of our attendees know who is really on the stage, because she's my friend, but let me tell you, she is a big deal. Okay. So Mita Mallick is a Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and LA Times best-selling author. She's on a mission to fix what's broken in our workplaces. She's a corporate change maker with a track record of transforming businesses and has had an extensive career as a marketing and human resources executive. Mallick is a highly sought after speaker who has advised Fortune 500 companies and startups alike. She's a LinkedIn top voice and was named to the Thinkers 50 Radar list. She's a contributor to, get this, Harvard Business Review, Fast Company, Adweek, and Entrepreneur. Mita has been featured in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, The Washington Post, Time Magazine, Forbes, Axios, Essence, Cosmo, Business Insider, all of them. And she holds a BA from Barnard College, Columbia University, and an MBA from Duke University's Fuqua School of Business. So once again, Mita, welcome to the show. And folks, this is who we're talking to today, and it's going to be amazing. Now, those of you who have been part of the audience for a while know this. We start every show by taking a moment to exhale. We take a few deep breaths and get ourselves grounded for what is going to be an amazing conversation. So wherever you are right now, if you can, not if you're driving though, but anywhere else, close your eyes. Close your eyes, take your shoulders down, and start inhaling. Inhale and exhale. And one more time. Inhale and exhale through your mouth. And again, inhale and exhale. And now we're going to say today's affirmation. You can say it mentally if you want to. Today's affirmation is, I'm leading myself and others with compassion, clarity, kindness, and courage. Right? So let's bear that in mind as Mita and I go into our conversation today, which is the devil emails at midnight, the cost of bad bosses. So let's get into it. So, Miss Mita, let me just put this up on the screen. So,
wow.
right, the devil emails at midnight, right? Is what good leaders can learn from bad bosses, and you came up with all of the nicknames for the bad bosses, and they're up on screen now. The devil, the sheriff, the napper, Medusa, gossip girl, all of them. So, how did you come up with these nicknames? And like, as you were writing, this is a double-barreled question. As you were writing, which boss, right? Which of the nicknames, which boss sort of like elicited a strong reaction from you still?
So I'm going to be honest, and I don't know if you do this, but I've always had nicknames with close girlfriends, coworkers about people, about exes, about family members, about this. But in the workplace, I would pick like an object like tennis ball or coffee mug. Because if you pick something that's too close, like the napper is the person who's napping on the job.
Right.
So here comes the napper. If you're sitting at work, you really
yeah.
So this
you have to like do it in code.
Yes, in code, the secret language. But for me, what nicknames represent is that we are trying to create some emotional distance between the person if there's hurt or harm or anxiety. And so we almost separate ourselves from them. And nicknames are fun. So why not? But I did that thinking about the nicknames of, some of them were what we did call them in the workplace, but others were just to be more descriptive of what they were doing. And as I've said in the intro, as you've read, I don't want to name, shame, demonize, blame. That's not what I'm in the business of doing. I hope some of those people are now really good leaders. So some of the actual nicknames I could not use.
Names have been changed to protect the guilty.
Yes, to protect the guilty. Okay, and your second part of the question was
which of the bosses, because these are all bosses that you actually right encountered in your career. So which of them, as you were writing, like elicited the strongest reaction? Because I would imagine some of these experiences happened years ago, some were more recent, some elicited a stronger response. Right. So as you were writing, which ones sort of took you right back there into what? I really didn't like this person.
That is such a great question. The one that is still really hard for me to talk about, and you'll appreciate this. You write this book, thousands of people are reading it. People are listening right now. Thank you everyone for joining us. And the one that I still have trauma associated with it is the sheriff. And there's still shame and blame. There's a lot of emotions for me and for anyone who's read the book, and hopefully you'll check it out. The sheriff is the boss who didn't want to learn how to say my full name, which is Mother Mita. My full name has been a source of joy, shame, pride, embarrassment, proud daughter of Indian immigrant parents, born and raised here. For most of my life, I went by Mita because I put other people's comfort in front of my own. I did not want to make them uncomfortable. And that's part of how I was raised, my upbringing. And I leave graduate school and I'm going to take on Mother Mita. I'm going to leave with my MBA and I'm going to re-enter the workplace with my full name. He didn't want to learn how to say Mother Mita, Lisa. I offered Mita. He decided it would be funny to nickname me Muhammad. So it would be Muhammad, can you get the sales samples? Muhammad, the agency's here. Can you go to security to greet them? Muhammad, hey, are you coming to lunch? And I responded to that longer than I should have. And I'll never forget, there's this moment, I'm sitting in his office, we're in a one-on-one, and I finally have the courage to say to him, can you please just call me Mita? And his response is, oh, Muhammad is so funny. What's the big deal? It's so funny. And yeah, there's a part of me that has reconciled the fact that I was junior, that I did try to set boundaries, that there were other people who could have stood up for me, and none of those things happened. So I have that part of the forgiveness. But there's this other part of me, which, I'm teaching my children, is you teach people
Right.
to treat you.
Exactly.
So the first time he had said that, if I looked him in the eyes and said, "It's Mita. My name is Mita," and looked that fiercely at him, direct and clear, would he have gone on to bully someone else? Which doesn't solve the problem. But that's one I still have a lot of angst around. I really do.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I mean, as I was reading it, oh my gosh, my heart broke, because although my name is my first name is comparatively easy to pronounce, I just don't tell people my middle name because they don't pronounce it the way that I like.
Here, say it all for all of us.
No. But no, I could relate. And also I know people with quote unquote difficult names, which I don't believe in. And that's why I say quote unquote, because you and I have said this many times in our private chat, right? If you can pronounce Tchaikovsky, you could pronounce any other name.
Daenerys Thornborn or
exactly.
Targaryen. I'm going to list all the Game of Thrones characters.
Right, all of those. If you can actually, Targaryen is a good one. Yeah. Mind you, if you can pronounce Neve, if you can pronounce Neve, which is actually spelled, I think, Niamh.
Yes.
If you can pronounce Neve, you can do Mita. Easy. You can do Mita. And so there's absolutely no excuse for it. And a lot of people from cultures like ours go through what you went through.
Yeah.
And so, that one hit me deeply. And I could feel your pain as I was reading it. I could feel what you must have been going through, And
I talked about in the book, I saw him years later and I still had that visceral reaction. I think anyone who experienced, specifically talking about trauma in the workplace, we experience all kinds of trauma in our life, but to actually then see that person again years later, the moment brings you back and your body has a reaction.
Yeah. I wrote about a bad boss in my book. My book is not about that, but that was one of the stories. And years later, I encountered that same person working in the same building, different company, but same building. And we ended up in the elevator together. Ooh, child. And let me tell you, it was weird. And I just, stared at, we just stared at each other and just pretended that this was not happening.
Did you look through them like they were saran wrap?
I absolutely did. Did.
Nope. Yep, that's what you have to do.
So yeah, absolutely. So what I like about your work, Mita, is that you don't speak about business from it's not from a distance, right? You speak about it from a very close, intimate, personal, human perspective. And you seem really invested in making workplaces better for everyone. So have you always been that person, or is this a new mission for you? Where did this passion for improving the workplace come from?
No, I haven't always been that way. But but actually, if I think about my origin story, I'm not a Marvel fan, but I have some Marvel fans in my home, right? So the origin story of when you are hurt, do you become the hero or the villain? You think about that. And I think about being the dark-skinned, funny-looking girl who had a long, funny-looking braid, whose parents spoke funny English until it wasn't funny anymore, growing up outside of Massachusetts, being bullied physically, verbally, relentlessly by peers, and the power of exclusion, right? You're like, wow. Yeah. And for me, it was my parents always said, education at all costs. Education is for us freedom, right? To be free of those things. But Lisa, you don't expect that the bully from the playground is going to follow you into the halls of corporate America and they've grown up and they're waiting for you. So
it's all high school. It's all high school. And this is what we don't realize.
I thought these people, no, they all grew up. They're still there and they're following us everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, I think part of it was I had a series of events throughout my career, whether it was the sheriff or other ones, where I was like, I'm entering a world of work that wasn't built for someone like me. And these things keep happening over and over again? Is it me? Is it that Taylor Swift song, Hi Me, I'm the problem, it's me? Or is it the environments I'm entering? And I think,
am I the drama? Am I the drama?
Problem? Am I the drama?
Yes.
You start to think that, because why is it that I'm consistently being targeted in some cases? And I also, we'll get back to that. You can ask me the question, did you work really for all these bad bosses? Because I have an interesting response to that. And this idea that, we only have one life to live. And so why am I holding on to all this stuff and not sharing it? And with losing my dad really suddenly in 2015, that was sort of like, what am I waiting for? And I started to share a lot of these things on LinkedIn, and I started to realize I'm not alone. It's how we met, right? Like I was drawn.
Absolutely.
And I was like, wow, other people are talking about similar things. Like I'm not alone, because in many ways, corporate America doesn't want you talking about these things.
They don't. Yes, absolutely.
But it's like, oh, we can't change what we won't discuss. Don't we all want our workplaces to be better? They'd be more productive. You drive more revenue, all the things. And so to me, it doesn't make sense of why we want these things hidden.
Yeah.
That's really it. That was, I think, my dad's death. It was the catalyst, but then also finding a lot of people like yourself during the pandemic who were talking about similar things.
I can see that. And speaking of your dad's death, I want to talk about chapter 13, the last chapter.
Are you going to be Oprah and make me cry, Lisa? Good Lord. No.
Well, you were Oprah right in the book and made me cry because
Lisa, my kids don't know who Oprah is. I've done a disservice.
Oh no! Oh dear!
In another.
We'll talk about that another time.
But anyway,
when you come back and we talk about publishing, we'll talk about Oprah.
Yes.
But I read it and I get it. See, this is the thing. I'm sorry, I'm about to go off on a publishing tangent, but this is what I love about your writing, is because it puts you right there. Like I'm getting actual chills. This is the book, folks, just in case. I'm getting actual chills just talking about it again. I read it and I could feel your pain and your grief and everything you were going through. And something that I admire is that, so in 12 chapters, you talked about all these folks that, right? The devil, the sheriff, the white rabbit, the great pretender, the grinner. You talked about all of those bad bosses, but you also turned a lens onto yourself. And I really appreciate that honesty, that vulnerability, that transparency, because most people, it's very easy to point the finger out at others.
Yeah.
But to say, hey, maybe I have been a bad boss too. I was like, wow. And to find out that it was due to, your father's passing. Anyway, I don't want to tell it all, but tell what you can about why you decided to include yourself as quote unquote one of the bad bosses, and take us back to that time in your life when your dad. Tell us about it, because I know, because I read the book. But
I mean, listen, I included it because it's true. How can I talk about bad bosses and not talk about my own leadership journey? And what was really interesting about that time in my life, my children were much younger, and I was in a great leader era. I was doing really well at work. I was on a high. And then I get this call on Valentine's Day from my mother that changes my life forever. My dad was gone suddenly, just gone, like from out of nowhere. And I know many of you are listening in who have lost someone, who are struggling with grief. I mean, listen, it'll be almost 10 years that my dad left. I still feel like it was yesterday.
It feels imminent. Yeah, like it just happened.
And so why I wanted to share it is because grief is unrelenting. Grief is inconvenient. I thought I could shove grief in the kitchen drawer and just show up at work, right? And what I want people to understand is what happens at the kitchen table follows us to the conference room table.
Ooh,
and not compartmentalize our lives like this. And I do think even the environment I was in, I'll never forget my boss looking at me a few weeks later after I had come back from losing my dad and bereavement leave. And he said, "Oh, finally, you got your mojo back." And it's an expectation, because it's uncomfortable to talk about grief until you are in this club, which you never want to be part of. the gift of my dad's death, if I can even say that, is I have such a different level of empathy for someone who's lost someone they love, right? And I'll be that person in the workplace. If I don't even know the person and I found out they lost their father, their mother, their sister, I'll be the first person just to reach out with a note. It's been really interesting in a lot of workplaces I've worked in since that. People start to gather around that and create community and support. But it was important because I obviously was going through so many emotions then, and I wasn't dealing with the grief. And so I was then lashing out at my team or those closest to me at work. And so it was important for me to share because people are going through loss of a loved one, sickness, fertility issues, moving countries, moving states. We don't talk enough about friendship breakups, like all kinds of things going through.
So many things. Yeah.
And you can't just expect that you leave that at home and then show up at work differently.
That is so true. And I don't know, Mita, when I read that chapter, it reminded me that so many of us forget that we are human beings. Yeah. And that work is a part of life, but it is not the totality of life. And I also appreciated that, sometimes we think, oh, someone is being a bad boss because maybe, they're a bad human being, or we ascribe some evil to them. Now, some are evil.
Yes.
Some are evil. And I too will, not name names so as to protect the guilty, but yes. Some are definitely evil. But a lot of, bad bosses are human beings who are in some kind of a struggle. And you mentioned this in your book, right? Some who have not had training, some who are mimicking bad bosses that they have had. But what you share in chapter 13 in the last chapter is that it might not be about anything to do with that at all, because you were normally a great boss and then your dad died and it completely pulled the rug out from under you.
Absolutely. And I want people listening to know that this is not a static state. Yes. You can go from being a great leader to a terrible boss to being a good leader, and that's how life is. And I wish more of us would show up with humanity. Let's bring the humanity back to the workplace. And when I say this to people, people will say, well, I don't have time to have a therapy session with my team, or just check in on people. I'm not your therapist, but I could say, Lisa, how are you doing today? Or for someone to say, Mita, I know it's been a month, but checking in on you. Do you need to take some additional time off? Or I wish I had been vulnerable enough to say, it's my dad's first birthday without him. I need to or Father's Day is going to be tough for me. And I didn't feel like I could say those things necessarily.
And part of that is, I think, because of how corporate America, it's not even like company specific.
No.
In some cases, it's how the expectations of how one is supposed to show up in corporate spaces in general, like just be strong and keep moving and keep producing. And that's one of the reasons why I think there's in some ways, some overlap in our work, because you're saying, hey, let's remember the humanity of people. Yes, we're at work, but we're human beings first. And I'm saying, and yes, we're human beings first, and we can't focus solely on work, or there's a kinder, softer, gentler way to do it that lets us retain our humanity. So, I love having this conversation with you. And speaking of having been a good boss and then drifting into bad boss territory, what are some of the signs, do you think, that early warning signs of a leader drifting into bad boss territory?
Well, I mean, listen, I think when there's smoke, there's fire. People ask me, what does it mean if I can just be a good boss who had a bad day? Right? Let's think about that. We all can.
That's true too. Yes.
What about if it's the repetitive behavior and the person is not taking the feedback and the behavior is intensifying over time? We've all seen it in there. And again, when does that happen? We just actually talked about the first one, which is something cataclysmic happens in your personal life. It's a personal earthquake, right? And that you're going to bring to work, whether you want to or not. Second, something's happening in the environment at work. Competition. I'm sitting in the US right now, I believe, as you are. Tariffs, taxes, policies. I don't write executive orders. I don't know when the next one's coming. Like so much pressure on business. And then I think the last one we talked about, I don't say the S word in my house, but poo-poo trickles down. So Lisa works for me, first-time manager. I'm in a bad boss era. Lisa doesn't know any better. I mean, I can remember the first time I got promoted. I got 10 people under me, finally an office with the door. And it's like, title, congratulations. I'm like, there's a manual? What do I do? I have 10
What do I write? What do I do now?
Sort of like when I left the hospital for the first time with my firstborn, I was like, what do I do? No one's right. It says that feeling of lack of coaching and support. And so Lisa starts to mimic my behavior. She doesn't know any better.
Right.
And whether she could have good intentions, around someone behaving badly enough, I have to believe it rubs off on you, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, it does. And especially, I think, if one is either early in one's actual career and or early in a role. Like you said, when you're like the first time you are in a leadership position with a team, right? You might be mid-career, but that's the first time that you're performing, you're in that role.
I would also add, I think, and I'm not going to name names, hottest tech company right now, everyone wants to work at. Hottest nonprofit. Bad bosses can be made anywhere, anytime. Some industries, I believe, are going to create more bad bosses. Why? Because it's like the nonprofit. The mission is to serve the world and change the world. So we couldn't possibly be gaslighting or bullying people internally. And if we are, it's for a higher vision and purpose. Or some of these big tech companies that everyone wants to work at, right? It's interesting that if you don't want to put up with this behavior, Mita, of this person behaving this way and bullying, there's 10 other people.
Yes.
Who are going to be there. And this mission is bigger than you. And, I won't name names, and many of them are going to be going IPO. But it goes back to back in the day when so many of us were looking at WeWork. Oh, WeWork, right? We crashed, right? Or like some of these tech companies where, a lot of the behavior was allowed.
Yeah. And not only allowed, but actually encouraged.
Yes, thank you.
Encouraged, because there's a nuance there. Allowed is one thing, and yes, it is allowed, but actually, no, we want the culture. We want the culture of
encourage and enable. Encourage and enable. Yes.
Encourage and enable. Yes. I'm trying not to cuss, because I know we're getting the Auntie Lisa's a good auntie, I promise.
Bleep.
Does not use bleep, bleep, bleep. But people who act in a bleepy fashion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to pause here, though, to read a comment that just came up from Lisa Andrews. And it says, "You are incredible, Mita Mallick. Everything you write offers the perfect balance between our human experiences and our roles as managers. I absolutely love the book."
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. As a you're like, is anyone but my mom going to read it? What's going to happen here? I mean, thank you. That really, really means
that is so sweet. And I put it up, yes, because I wanted you and everyone to see it, but that's how I feel about your work as well. It is so resonant, and it pulls you in, actually, because you and I started speaking about your book just before it was actually released. And when I even heard the title, I was like, okay, so when is the movie coming out? Because this is a movie I want to watch. I need right? I need to see this movie. I absolutely need to see this movie. So whoever's listening out there, please reach out to Mita and her team and make this happen. Because can you imagine, right? And then you are coming out with another book.
Oh yes, let's talk.
You're coming out with another book, and it is called Office Villains: How to Deal with the Colleagues Who Ruin Our Workday. Right? So can you give us a little?
Well, I mean, title TBD, but I'm gonna work hard on making that happen with my publisher.
Yes.
Okay, so
that's the theme of it. That is
the theme. It is Office Villains. That's the name.
Okay.
It is Office Villains: How to Deal with Colleagues Who Ruin Your Workday. It was interesting, and I'm sure you can appreciate this as a writer. I'm always listening for the things people say to me and the questions they ask. So as I've been having conversations on the devil emails at midnight, what good leaders can learn from bad bosses, people would say, Lisa, to me, but what about colleagues who act this way? But what about colleagues? So that's really interesting. So the chopper that's in my book, it's the notorious micromanager. And so let's say that I am the boss and I am micromanaging Lisa, who works for me. There's power dynamic and hierarchy there, how you do this. But okay, so there's that situation. But what if Lisa and I are peers? We're the same level, colleagues, and I start to micromanage her. What is that about? That is about trying to use informal authority. It's trying to, right? So that's what I'm really interested in, is like a fast follow-up to the devil emails at midnight. What about colleagues and our relationships? Because those in some cases are actually can be more tricky to navigate. And part of what happens is when the boss is asleep at the wheel, the boss is overwhelmed, isn't able to do their job, people run amok at work.
They do.
And so it's sort of the analogy of parenting. If I did absolutely nothing to parent my children, I'm trying really hard. Any unsolicited parenting tips, so you can send me on LinkedIn. I'm open to it, but it is a hard time to be raising kids. I'm sure every generation.
I'm sure. Yes.
But I will take stories from my book. Yes, thank you. But but it's like, if I did nothing, if I just let them run around all day in the house and I show up and it's like, there's no guidelines, there's no discipline, nothing. It's very similar to the work.
Feral. Yeah, they would just be.
It's like the boss is not there to lead and coach. And so colleagues are going to do what they need to do to get ahead, step on each other, sideswipe all the things. Yeah. But I'm very excited. I am knee deep in writing it. So it's pretty fun.
Ooh. Like, how far are you now? Like, are you halfway or?
3 quarters? Yeah. Because in terms of how I like to write, I am not someone who can write chapter 1 and then edit chapter 1. I'll get stuck and never move on. So I'm all about, let me get it all out. Let it sit for a month and then go back. It doesn't come out till September 15th of 2027, which is, as you know, publishing, long lead times. But that's how I like to get it all out. Yes.
I like a long lead time for a book because to me it allows it to marinate. It allows the writer, right? It allows the writer time to, like you said, a big part of writing is putting down the book.
Yes.
That's a big part. Put it down, let it marinate, let things sort of, cogitate on things in your mind and then come back to it. And you often see what you've written in a different way. You see it more clearly. You can do some of your own developmental editing, in terms of reorganization. It's great.
I feel like I'm getting like a writing coaching session. Thank you.
Listen, what? Wait, let me just go back here. What? Wall Street Journal bestseller, USA Today bestseller, LA Times bestseller. I don't think there's a solitary thing, Miss Ma'am, that I can coach you on.
Coaching, the support, that we've messaged each other years now. That support is really important. It's because writing is wonderful and it's a lonely process.
It is quite lonely, and I definitely have appreciated all the times that we have reached out to each other. Coaching each other, commiserating with each other, guiding each other, offering each other support. Like, it really, it helps. I think that's the end of the sentence. It helps.
911 writing crisis call. And Lisa picks up. My Lisa, I need to talk.
What do I do here? This is what's happening. Where should I go? And vice versa, because like you said, it can be such a lonely path. But knowing that somebody else is going through something similar, or has gone through something similar, knows sort of the path, maybe has some answers. And even if you don't have answers, or I don't have answers, just the commiseration, right?
Yeah.
You know what? I will hold your hand virtually over the phone and be there for you and help you go through this. So thank you for all the times. And there have been many that you have done that.
Right back at you. You're absolutely. Yes.
Thank you. And so one of the things I write about in Space to Exhale, and you said this was one of your favorite quotes, right? Is we cannot secure the bag if we do not first secure ourselves.
Oh my God, so good.
Thank you. And so what have you learned about the relationship between achievement and self-preservation. What have you learned about that? Because I see those themes coming up in your writing a lot. So yeah, what have you learned?
I mean, a lot of it is unlearning. Again, I'm the proud daughter of Indian immigrant parents, and they gave me a lot of gifts that didn't serve me well in corporate America, and then they gave me gifts that did serve me well. But I think part of it is that I would say to you that I still sometimes live in survival mode, even though I am not in survival mode, because I believe it is generational trauma that can be passed down. So having immigrant parents who left everyone and everything they knew behind, and were struggling paycheck to paycheck with no community. And so some of that trauma you internalize, and you're in survive. I need to do more.
Yes.
I need to be working hard. I need to, rest was never a concept for my parents. And it's not because they didn't want to rest. They did, but it was like, they were in survival mode. And so for
that's all they knew.
Yes, that because of what they have done for me, that I don't need to be doing that. And so that's something I really think about and I struggle with, because I can get triggered to go into survival mode.
Yeah. Same here. I definitely, and I think we might have some similarities in terms of how we approach work, just personality wise as well as culturally. Like, it's very easy for me to go into hyper focus and overdrive and just be like, okay, I have these 20 things to do. In fact, no, I have 25 things to do, and I'm going to try to do all 25 in one day.
Yeah.
Because that's what that's what that's how you've been raised to give up your best, to not go overboard in a bad way, but just be excellent at all times and always, which, like you said, it does not allow a lot of time for rest. It does not allow a lot of time for creating balance between work and life. But the core thesis, one of the core theses of your book, is actually that.
It is,
right? Because nobody wants the quote unquote the devil to email them at midnight. Nobody. Right. And actually it was funny. It was funny because when we were communicating offline, we were talking about the book and about this interview. And when I was going to email you, right, it was like 11 something at night.
But that's okay. So, like what I want to say
is we're friends.
We're friends.
I didn't do it though.
What I'm trying to talk about with the devil emails at midnight is the power dynamics in the hierarchy.
Oh yes.
So if you have, but yes, I understand. But it's even the fact that you were thoughtful. I'm asleep then, so don't worry, Lisa.
Yes, exactly. But I thought about the irony. I'm like, how are you going to interview Mita about the devil emails at midnight and email her at midnight? Right. I'm like, no, we're not doing that at all. That is not going to happen. So I sent it the next day, but it just made me think about, sometimes it is not even, sometimes the devil, quote unquote, is being deliberately bullying, and sometimes it is just thoughtlessness.
It is, I agree. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to react to that you just said is this idea that the relentless drive and overwork. Yes. There's no extra credit in corporate America. Surprise! In case you didn't know,
right?
But I was like, there's no titles. There's titles. But there's no trophies.
Yes. Medals. There isn't though.
Extra credit. So this idea of overworking to pacify my anxiety, to feel like I was good enough, I could do all this, conditional to achieve no matter what. I wasn't getting any points on the board for that. I was just burning myself out. So that's why I love your quote on, your quote from your book reminded me of what I try to coach people in thinking about, like, you can't lead anyone if you don't lead yourself. You've got to lead and manage yourself, right? You can't secure the bag. You can't do anything else if you're not thinking about how you're, as you talk about, resting, recovering, and getting ready for sex. And I think here's the thing. It looks different for everyone. I'm not trying to gaslight anyone into saying they're working 9 to 5. Most of us aren't. But we are now living in an age where we are embracing and scaling AI. And surprise, we're not agents, we're humans on screen right now. And we're not Uber apps. We cannot be on demand 24/7. And so this idea of how do you lead teams to drive towards a goal and results and then let them rest and recover? That's the new leadership challenge no one's talking about. It's not that, because there might be times that you're working on something at midnight because it's due for a client first in the morning.
Occasionally.
Right. But if that is the normal course of business, something is fundamentally broken in how you work as a team, if that is the normal course of business. And again, I haven't been a 911 operator, an emergency room professional, firefighter. Nothing I have done has ever saved a life. And I'm really thankful to the people in the country and world who are on the front lines doing that. But I just sold a lot of beauty products and SaaS software. Nothing, no lip gloss was gonna be harmed if I didn't get a note at midnight.
Not having the right lip gloss is an emergency, though. Depending on circumstances.
Yeah.
Apart from that, yes, I agree with you.
So I'm like, so that's what I really want. That's the biggest leadership challenge that we face right
now. Absolutely. So I have a funny question for you, right?
So, all right, go ahead.
So I'm gonna put all of the bad bosses back up on the screen, right? So the question is, so if the bad bosses came with a warning label, like how medication does, right? No, it's a funny question, but it's also a serious question because it's something that you actually do address in your book, right? What would the label say? And what would like the side effects be of having a bad boss? Like what would the result be of like quote unquote overdosing on a bad boss? Having too many of those experiences.
I mean, gosh, what could we say? Consume at your own risk. I feel like it's going to be like, like it was pharmaceutical ads.
Yeah, that's it. That long.
Do not take for more than a 3-month period. Side effects can be suddenly feeling like you have imposter syndrome, but it's gas. Shrinking, sitting in the back of the room, deciding you want your camera off all the time.
Yes.
And not participating. I mean, think about all the ways in which bad bosses can shrink you in your confidence. Those are all side effects. And we will be a bad boss and we will have a bad boss. That is just how it goes. The question is, how long do you want to endure, try to survive these periods? And I think my advice is, if you were working for someone where you look at yourself in the mirror a month later and you see yourself disappearing, they're chipping away at you. And if you've been through that, you know that feeling. I'll tell you, Lisa, I was working for Medusa, and I remember, because when you work for bad bosses too, you start to isolate yourself.
Yes.
Because what happens is bad bosses create community at work. It's like trauma bonding. And sometimes colleagues who are also experiencing it, it's like you're in the trenches and you're staying for whatever reason. And then you start to sort of isolate yourself. And I'll never forget, I was working for Medusa. I went to hadn't seen these friends in 7 months. They looked at me like they were seeing a ghost.
Oh no.
They were like, what has happened to you? Right. So also when people who haven't seen you in a while see you, and I'm not talking about my physical appearance, I'm talking about the light is gone.
Your energy. Yeah, exactly.
All of it. And so that is when you need to make the get out plan. You need to work the plan, and you need to work the plan every day until you get out. Because I'm not telling you to resign tomorrow. Many of us can't afford that. That's not how life works. But I'm telling you, you need to start the plan. And you asked me that question earlier. With some of these really bad bosses, where there's smoke, there's fire. The first time they disrespect you won't be the last.
Right.
So start looking at the patterns and thinking, okay, I've got to figure out what I'm going to do next.
Yeah. I met one of my worst bosses. I still remember the interview because, I'm very into like, energy and, trusting your gut and your instincts and all that. And I remember getting just almost like a feeling of being stabbed. I don't know how else to explain it. It was a bad feeling in the interview. but I had been out of work for a long time. I'm like, okay, survival. This is what happens, right? When people, when companies are like, why do you want this job? Because I need to survive. I need to eat.
Yeah, you're
I need to eat, and I'm qualified, and so let's just stop the dance. But so I decided to move ahead, and when I tell you that boss was probably, I have to come up with a nickname. You can help me later on. We'll chat about it later on. But it was one of the worst work experiences of my life, and I knew it in the interview. And I should have just walked away. And then, as you said, so it started in the interview, and then it just got worse and worse and worse. And at sign number 1, I thought, oh, maybe they didn't mean that. Maybe it's not as bad. And you start to gaslight yourself. Maybe it's not as bad as I think. Maybe I'm being melodramatic or too sensitive, and that's how it works on you. And then also, frankly, maybe I need this paycheck, right? Maybe I need this paycheck. And then you say,
it's so interesting you bring this up, that I know many people are looking for their next opportunity, and I'm rooting for you, those listening in. The interview is the movie trailer to the movie. And I love the movie trailer. If someone isn't going to be on their best behavior when they're interviewing you, I don't know what to say. That is it. That should be the best.
The honeymoon. That's the honeymoon.
And if you can't behave right then imagine what it's going to be like for them. But I know you're rethinking the decision, and you're thinking about it, but you needed to pay bills, you needed a job, for the realities, but at least you sort of had an idea going in, and it was worse than you thought. Gosh, I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, it was oh my gosh, the worst. I cannot even describe how bad it was. But I survived, did what I had to do. Eventually made a get out plan, which again, I read the book, and you are a big fan of a get out plan.
Oh, I had so many. I had get out 2018, get out 2020, get out 2020. But thank God no one's looking in my Gmail and my folders. But I used to have a lot of because you know what? Otherwise, where are you going to take that energy? You're going to start to do the downward spiral at work. You're going to be angry, unhappy. You're going to start to I've been that person. You start to become toxic because you're so unhappy about the situation. So I take that energy and start to figure out, what's the plan? How are you going to use this for yourself?
Yeah. And that is one of the side effects that we were talking about earlier. You start, not necessarily becoming like the bad boss, but you start your body and your mind and your whole spirit is going to react, and you start turning in on yourself. You maybe, like you said, start becoming toxic. You start becoming angry. Sometimes you can experience sort of psychosomatic symptoms. There's one job I knew that I'm like, oh, I need a get out plan for this, because I would leave home and be fine. And every time I got to within 5 minutes of the gate, I would get a migraine every time.
Oh my God.
And then as soon as I 10 minutes after driving away, the migraine would go driving back home. So I'm like, okay.
Telling you, your body's like, nope.
Your body is telling you. So I want to switch gears a little bit and ask you about something that I came across, something fabulous.
Okay.
About you being featured in the press, my darling. As
oh
you
my God. Okay, cool.
We love press coverage around here. So your very latest one is, you were featured in Inc. and the title is She gave away everything she knew for free on LinkedIn. Then her books became bestsellers, and it's written by Nicole Ramirez. And so congratulations on that feature. It's far from your first one, but it's still one. And so congratulations.
Thank you. I also, I usually do the writing. So it's very interesting to be profiled by someone else. Yeah, I'm like, oh.
Because initially I was like, wait, did Mita write this? And I'm like, oh no.
You know what? My mom read it and she was like, wait, are you writing about yourself in the third person? I'm like, no, Mom, Nicole wrote it. She's like, oh, okay, it's very nice.
That's what happens when you're a writer, is people expect that you're the person that's written everything,
Yes.
But yeah, so how did that come about? And tell us more about that, because I hadn't really thought about it that way, about you gave away everything free on LinkedIn, but you kind of did, right?
And you did, my friend, you did too. That's exactly what you've done. And so people, And that's when people say, okay, I've seen the thought leadership, the content they're putting out, and so now I'm going to part with $26, right? That's what you're asking people to do.
Yeah.
And other things, but that was for me. And Nicole, the power of LinkedIn, I met Nicole through LinkedIn. And for, an introvert like me who poses like an extrovert, I love LinkedIn because you get to meet all kinds of people, right? And so I met her. We did a podcast. She said, oh, I was on her podcast. She said, I love your story and I'd love to profile you for my column. I was like, what? And then school's almost out for the summer. I'm scared, Lisa, say a prayer. So that's my
I am praying for you. Good luck.
I forgot about the piece. And then my friend Michael Saderman texted me on a Saturday morning. He was like, this is an amazing piece. And I was like, what is this piece? I hadn't seen it.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but it was just, it is the power of community. I, for so long, have been sharing things on LinkedIn, as we talked about, that I've been struggling, that I observe. How do we make our workplaces better? How do we make our work relationships stronger? And then when I had my first book come out, people just came to support me because they had seen so much of my writing and the second book and third book. And so that, my friend Callie Schweitzer always says to me that LinkedIn's a platform of generosity, right? And that's how we sort of, you give and then you get in return. I mean, that's how we also should be living our life. But I think that's true of LinkedIn. Even the, algorithms changing, things are constantly changing. What's not changing is the ability to meet great people on LinkedIn, like Lisa, like me, right? Like I get to meet people every week that show up in my comments. And so that's really important to me.
Yeah, it is. And, I think about you, and so there's a few other people that I've met on LinkedIn and we've become friends. I mean, you invited me onto your LinkedIn Live. Remember your audio series that you used to do?
I remember, yes.
I'm trying to remember how many times you invited me. I'm thinking it was at least 5.
I did. I love the audio rooms back in the day. We did a bunch in the pandemic. Yeah. And Elaine, I've met through LinkedIn, who you've had Tara. Like, I just think about all these people all these leaders that I've met through LinkedIn. Yeah.
And it's good, and you meet good people, you build community.
Your sister Karen. I mean, God, the list goes on and on. I think 75%
yes
podcast guest list, I'm like, I want to meet that person, or I follow them on LinkedIn.
Just good people.
Yeah, great people.
That was it. Whenever I'm looking around for, okay, who is going to be a guest? Like, who do I want? Like, I don't have to look far because, I've built community. And same for you, like on your audio room, like you had already built a community.
Yeah.
And so you had interesting guests, and your audio rooms were always full. There were like hundreds of people. Like it was a big deal. But that's because you, quote unquote, gave everything away. Like you were known for your generosity of sharing your knowledge, sharing your story, sharing your information. And I think people really were drawn to that and resonated with that,
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So we're close to wrapping up. Not totally, but we're close. We're close. So one of the last questions I want to ask is, so Space Exhale, as you know, it's about softness, soft living, life work balance, and about choosing yourself, putting yourself first. So for somebody, let's say, who feels like work has taken over their life, taken over their identity, they're working for a bad boss, how can they reclaim space for themselves in a healthy way?
I'm going to say something very simple. Start with 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes to walk outside, 10 minutes to listen to music, 10 minutes to meditate, 10 minutes to sit alone. By the way, when we were doing the breathwork exercise in the beginning, I realized I was on camera, so I couldn't peek and look, but I'm not somebody, I'm still working on. Breathwork, I'm always like the person who's kind of looking around the right. But not when I'm
the only one.
Very good. But whatever it is, I like to sit with myself in the morning with a cup of tea on my couch. That's it. Before the storm starts in my house, whatever your routine is. But I think we have to find ways, just like we have our phones recharge. We need to recharge and step away from the keyboard, step away from everything. I will tell you, I'm not a nature person, and more I'm leading into nature to go on walks outside, just in the sun, in the quiet. And and I'm not going to go do a marathon or something like that. Let's not get crazy. But I like to like go on walks and whatever that looks like for you. I'm just going to say you can find 10 minutes a day and then hopefully you increase that. But and you have so many beautiful practices in your book. By the way, my mom's a big fan of your book.
Oh,
but
thank you.
But there are so many
mom.
things in your book, right? I mean, if you're looking for inspiration, affirmations, right? There's things you can do. If you tell me I don't have 10 minutes, you got 5, right? You got 5. Pick up Lisa's book and you can, there are things that you can do for those 10 minutes every day. No, absolutely. Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I am so looking forward to your next book. I'm looking forward to the movie. Listen, somebody, I know I said it before, I'm saying it again as we close out, because somebody needs to make The Devil Emails at Midnight into a movie. Because every time we spoke about it, I was like, when is the movie? When is the movie? When is the movie? Because it absolutely has to happen.
And in the universe, we're going to make it happen. Thank you.
Make it happen. We're going to put it out there in the universe, and it's going to happen. It's going to be amazing. The next book is going to come out, Office Villains, and it's going to be a bestseller again. You're going to be like,
thank you.
So, I am just excited about everything you're doing. But is there anything else that you have coming up that you want people to know about, and also let everyone know where they can find you and follow you?
Find me on LinkedIn, send me a DM. You can find my books on Amazon, Barnes & Noble's, your local independent bookstore. And I'm also now doing executive coaching and advising work. So working with clients one-on-one and helping them get unstuck in their careers. So would love to hear from you if I can be helpful. Yeah.
Yay. Absolutely. So everyone, that is it for today. Mita, thank you again. This was absolutely amazing.
I'm coming back. I was
just going to say, I hope you're going to come back, because I want us to talk about our publishing journeys, and because a lot of people want to get into publishing and they need help. So we'll chat about that afterwards, but definitely you are welcome to come back anytime. You have an open invitation, which I think you know. So thank you for being here, and everyone who has shown up, whether you are Team Live, Team Replay, thank you for joining us. And I want you to remember today's affirmation, which is, I am leading myself and others with compassion, clarity, kindness, and courage. And so goodbye for now. And until next time, remember, you deserve time and space to exhale. Take care. Thank you for joining me on Space to Exhale, the podcast. If today's conversation resonated with you, please subscribe, follow the show, and leave a review. Every rating, review, comment, and share helps more people discover these conversations about rest, well-being, healing, and living with greater ease. Join me live every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, or catch the replay wherever you listen to your podcasts. To stay connected between episodes, visit spacetoexhalebook.com, subscribe to the Gentle Breath newsletter, and explore my award-winning book, Space to Exhale. Until next time, remember, you do not have to earn rest. You do not have to justify your joy. You do not have to prove your worth. You are already worthy of love, worthy of care, and worthy of having time and space to exhale. Ashe.